Okay, so you're playing here in this game with the black pieces. Let's quickly go over what was going on here. You started off really well. Played b6. I like that. Playing c5. Okay, c4. Yeah, this is so far really good. You're taking a lot of space. You may want to focus on developing your pieces because when you push pawns, you can't put them back anymore. It might become an issue, but I think for now it's perfectly fine. Here, after queen a4, you're in check. And you played the move knight c6. Do you remember what is wrong with this?
Well, I mean, there's nothing defending it, which I realize now, absolutely nothing defending it. So he just yoinks and he basically gets a free rook.
So they captured, and after your bishop move, your queen is protecting your rook. So that is, it's not the end of the world, but you may want to be a little bit careful with your pieces. So knowing that you can't move your knight there, how would you cover the check now?
I think bishop d7 is pretty better.
Yeah, I love that.
Because you're attacking it.
Yeah, exactly. It's developing the piece and also attacking the queen. And the queen has to retreat now because, it's not able to do anything anymore on this side of the board. Just have to be a little bit more cautious with your pieces. Yeah. So that was one issue in this game. So you're down a piece, but it's really good to keep trying to keep fighting. Knight e5, okay. Bishop here, okay. I'm a little concerned about this piece over here. I know you're trying to avoid trades. So your opponent played bishop e2. Now, if you were with the white pieces here, how could you be really annoying to to black over here? Like, what would you play here with the white pieces?
I could play knight c6.
Yeah.
Maybe a nice little attack on the queen. I'm just kind of looking through the board. I'm just like looking at like these pieces because I feel like they're the ones that are doing the most at the moment. I could play that and force him to move out so he can't castle or something. Because it also puts pressure on both of these. But I feel like that's also not that great because I'm losing it for a pawn.
Yeah. It's very good that you're thinking out loud and you're like calculating everything because then you get used to it. Like in your next game, you will think like, okay, this move I will not consider ever again because there's a rook right next to it. And you will like build those patterns and it will happen automatically in your next game. So it's very good. It's very good. I like it. I really like your move knight c6. It's a really annoying move. Can you calculate, so what would black do? Like, black doesn't have many options because the queen is under attack. So there's not a lot of options. What can black do there?
I mean, I think honestly, their best hope would be to make some sort of like counterattack. So whether that be like queen here, like so you're attacking this, you're also attacking that. But I guess they could take and just But if they did that, then they're straight into check, and then they have to block with their queen.
Basically, black's position is just really rough. Like. With this move, there are so many issues in the position. These three pieces are controlling so many squares. So you pointed out like the moves to consider. You can capture that knight, you can move the queen, but you don't really have a lot of space to work with it with black. So just to show you that after takes, black can cover the check in two ways. Either with the knight, but one that's very passive. And two, can you tell me which free piece is what white can capture?
This pawn.
Yep, exactly. So black will lose that pawn, and then this pawn will also fall at some point, and the position is collapsing. So that's why knight is not good. Queen can also cover the check, but do you see what white can capture here?
Well, it just takes the rook, and then it goes check.
Yeah, you pretty much mentioned the main things over here. Knight c6 is the most annoying move. You point out knight takes here. It's indeed just a free piece. It is really good that you think of trying to remove the castling lines of your opponent because that is quite a big thing. But in this position, you don't really have more pieces to continue the attack with or something, so it's not worth it. So it's really good that you figured that out. Yeah, your opponent played the move bishop e2 as well. It's a very simple developing move. You don't have to you don't have to be annoying every single move, but the more tricky you are, the easier it will be to win your games. So you moved your bishop here, and this bishop does not have a lot of squares available, right? It's a little bit stuck behind those pawns over here, and this queen is really annoying. And a move that will be really annoying for black as well, on top of like knight c6, is a4, this pawn move. Because then the bishop has to retreat, and then your move bishop to b5 was not really... Yeah, it was a bit pointless, yeah. Yeah, try to make moves that, like, okay, I understand that you want to move the bishop and you don't really want to trade, but sometimes you don't really have much else. Like, it may be worse if you move it. So try to just continue with the development. So let's see what happened in the next two moves. Okay, you offered a trade, okay. You're down material, so perhaps it's... You're better off trying to keep the queens on the board, but I can imagine that you're pretty fed up with this queen over there on b7. But yeah, here you could have also tried to go for the development and castle, but I do understand that you want to trade queens and just change it up a little bit. Here your opponent tricked you by playing knight takes f7. Do you see which pieces are hanging of yours?
Well, yeah, so he's currently threatening this, but he's also got this.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
It doesn't seem like you can save the two rooks, so you have to capture it back and you lost the rook. But okay, anything can still happen, so we don't give up. Let's see what happened after that. Okay, takes, not much you can do about that. And I'm guessing that your opponent just... c3, okay, wait.
Yeah.
Okay, we got the rook back.
Yeah,
we got the rook back. Okay.
Yup.
Okay, then I wonder what happened after this. Your rook does seem to be a little stuck. Okay, defense, nice. Okay, nice. I think that was the best one. You go back. I guess, you run out of time. Oh.
Yeah. That's usually what happens when I start clutching up and then I run out of time.
It has a lot to do with experience. I mean, even strong players struggle with time management, but that's why it's good to have a solid base in the opening so that you try to play your moves quickly and don't have time management issues at the end. I think it was a really good game. You demonstrated here it's not over and you can easily come back from it. So that was a really nice attempt to come back. Too bad you were low on the clock, but okay.
Yeah,
that was
I think
nice.
if I had more time, it would have been, I reckon I could have smoked this guy. I'm going to be honest.
I think so too. Yeah. Okay, let's see what happened here. You're London. Okay.
Accelerated London. Okay.
Okay. Good. Okay. Yeah, that's
bad?
That's a small problem, you see.
That'd do be a problem.
Perhaps in this very, very specific situation, you want to move the knight, like you want to develop first, so you move this, for example, here. I'm thinking maybe this queen is misplaced. Because if this queen were to be somewhere else, for example, here, like, okay, let me make this move. Let's pretend this happened in the game. Then this move is not possible. It's really hard to force this knight to move. One of the ideas is to immediately play this move. You can just play this move right away. And this way that if they take, then this knight has to move. And then you can execute whatever you want to do on the king side. And it's nice. So this move essentially was not really necessary, especially because this pawn is defended twice already by the knight and the king. So you kind of want to calculate, okay, so if I will be attacking this piece, how many times is it defended? Is it worth it attacking? If you move this queen over here, you're not really threatening to take there. So that way you can try to eliminate that move and just focus on your plans, which is one of them to play knight e5 over here. Then you can start extending with this pawn move. You can castle, you can move the knight over, and that way you're really like focusing on your plan. Because of such a small difference, you're already like slightly in trouble. And
yeah, definitely.
It's a little bit more advanced, I should say, to explain this already, but this is really the only issue that was. Like, it was the only reason why you were losing a pawn, essentially. So I would try to focus on the king side because all my pieces are lined up there. I'm not castled yet, so I can easily start pushing a pawn over here. I can involve my knight if I want to at some point. So what you did was what you played f4 was really good. I really like it because you want to keep this pawn. You want to keep that pawn because that is the pawn that is controlling, those squares. You're far more advanced in the position with that pawn. And you're also covered by this other pawn. This pawn, we don't really care about it because if we're losing one pawn, then it has to be this one. So after this, I would try to focus on how to continue attacking on the king side. So the queen's under attack. You move the queen here, which is sort of stepping out of focusing on the king side.
Again, my only reasoning for that was if I move my queen out here, there's this attack, so I kind of forcing him to make that move.
Yeah, the thing is that you may want to be careful with capturing pawns over here. As you mentioned, let me just illustrate it real quick. Let me just make some random moves. So taking this pawn, you already mentioned that they will play this rook move. This queen is running a little bit out of space over here. Where can you move it to now?
Where you a6.
The queen goes here, and suddenly there's a pawn hanging over here. Your queen is almost trapped, not yet, but it's looking very unpleasant over there. And as soon as the rook comes in, which is possible to do now, you don't want to face the rook on the second rank. Or, well, for you, if you have your rooks on the 7th rank, they're really powerful there. They're cutting off the king. They're able to threaten so many things. So this is pretty problematic. You do not want to get yourself in this situation. It makes sense that you went for this, of course. But I want you to shift the attention to the king side because that's what we care about. That's what matters to us because that is the plan. This bishop is focusing over here. There is a wall of pawns, but we try to break this. So now that you have to focus on the king side, where would you move this queen to?
I would say right here. Mainly just because it attacks this. And then if they decide to start doing anything with these, they kind of can open up the diagonal on this to just start going crazy on this side of the board. Yeah, this I feel like is good because it helps with the development of this pawn. Because this pawn is also defended. So this pawn is defending if this pawn somehow gets over there. I mean, you could also do this. I feel like that's pretty good. Because then you get this whole thing. I guess this move is probably maybe the best because it's attacking this directly. So they have to push this pawn out if they want to defend it, or they have to pull back somewhere. I guess here would be where they would go.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, both moves are pretty good. I'm not sure if there's a huge difference between those two moves, but I think both of them are really good and it depends what your preference is really. But yeah, you want to focus on the king side. So for example, if you move the queen here, you attack the knight. And as you can see, there are a lot of gaps in black's position. Those dark squares are really weak because they push this pawn. And now there's no control over the squares next to it, which is why you want to be careful with your pawns, because when you move pawns, you're weakening squares around it. In this very specific situation, there's no dark squared bishop for black, but there's a dark squared bishop for you. So that way you can already start to think, okay, so I have this good bishop that I can possibly use. You can try to create a plan together with that bishop. So if you were to place this bishop anywhere, because currently it's just staring at those pawns. If you were to place this bishop anywhere, where would you want to place it?
Right here.
Yeah, indeed. I am attacking the queen. I'm setting up some checkmate threats. And then the next step is, okay, how do I get there? So your move, queen over here, is actually pretty good for that, because now you're preparing to play this. And slowly you might be able to execute your plan. But yeah, it's okay to think of, try to think of moves where you are trying to move your pieces forward. It's not a bad thing to think about moving your pieces backwards. Like sometimes it's really good. But in this situation, you want to move your pieces forward. You want to activate them and make use of your opponent's weaknesses. So yeah, here you lost the pawn, unfortunately, but okay, wait, the knight is almost trapped, but your opponent didn't do much with that. That's pretty funny. Okay. Okay, you eventually took that pawn anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, bishop here. Okay, you took that. Nice, nice. Ooh, you're being very dangerous with that king.
Yeah, I know. I keep moving it further into the middle of the board, and I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm looking at this game right now. I'm like, what am I doing? But
okay, yeah. It's very dangerous. Yeah. I mean, I get it. Your bishop is pinned. There's a rook on the second rank. This is why we don't want to allow this rook here whatsoever.
Oh, I know why I did it. That was literally the reason why I did it. Was because I wanted to be able to defend this and this and this. So I moved it there. That's the only reason.
That's fair. It's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, once again, try to develop, because developing the king is not a good thing.
Okay.
We just want to castle that piece so that we can put it in safety. But yeah, now your king is super exposed, so I do understand it. But try to develop your pieces. So instead of moving the king here, now that you know maybe moving that king is not a really good idea, what would you do here instead?
I mean, this is a pretty decent move, I'd say. We got a direct attack on that. The only issue is actually that's a terrible move, because then this is hanging.
It's not the end of the world.
Okay, so I guess what I'd want to do. Oh, even that's terrible. I was gonna go here. That's hanging as well. I mean, you could potentially do this, because then you can actually start doing that.
I like that. I like that way of thinking. Nice.
If they move the rook off this file somehow, their queen is kind of like, their king is kind of trapped.
Okay, so you're developing pieces, but there are still a few pieces on the side that are not doing anything, and it's gonna take some time to develop them. So we want to focus on those indeed. It is really difficult to develop them right now because, as you mentioned, if you move this here, you lose it. But what I want you to try to think about is you want to connect your rooks, because when the rooks are not connected, it's really difficult to make use of them, and they are stronger when they are connected. And what that also means is that this whole area on the first rank is cleared. Exactly. You move the knight, even if it's on the edge of the board.
The only reason I would never look at that is because one time I hit Knights on the Rim of Grim, and that's the only reason. That's literally my brain sees it. It's like, nope, not good. Done.
Yeah, the thing is that because your position is super messy, sometimes you have to get a bit creative, and that also may mean to violate some rules. And this is a very good case of that, because you're just simply not able to develop this knight whatsoever. You just happen to be in that situation. So if you have no other choice, really, try to go for moves like this. It looks very silly. But once you realize the idea, it all suddenly makes sense. Because, okay, this knight is not really going anywhere. Maybe you can get there at some point, but okay, that is not the reason why we're doing this. The reason why is because we're connecting the rooks. This rook is very annoying over here. So we want to get that off the board. So if black were to do just any move here, what would your next move be to try to get rid of that rook?
Probably this?
Yes, exactly. So we just played a rook over here. Either we capture that rook or they trade, and then we take back, and suddenly we're back in the game. We are attacking the queen, and then we can continue our development. And black is not really attacking us anymore. We're pretty much safe. These pieces are not really going anywhere, so we're not afraid anymore, and we can continue from here. But okay, you moved the king up. That's all right. Let's see how you dealt with that. Okay. Okay, I like it. Nice, nice. Oh, your opponent was tricky as well. Wait.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. Okay. Okay. It's so messy. It's like a free piece on every single move. It's so funny.
Yep.
See, your king is so unsafe over here. It's terrifying.
Yeah, no, it's a rough day. It's a terrible day for the king.
It's a rough day for the king. Okay, you only have 1 minute on the clock. It's really difficult to make the right moves over here. The thing is that black is not really threatening anything because this knight is stuck. I mean, okay, there's a check, but there's no real follow-up whatever because your queen is really nicely centralized. This rook is stuck. So I guess by taking the pawn over here, allowing the rook to be on an open file, you sort of helped your opponent. Yeah. But I can imagine that you kind of want to open things up and, you know, involve the queen by giving a check. But try to refrain from giving pieces like this. Try to just play any other move really, because your opponent would have to do something. Like, I actually don't see what they can do other than giving another check. But then you just run away, and you can run everywhere, honestly. Perhaps it's just a good idea to just make your moves fast, even if it's just plain wrong. Like, you will be able to analyze after the game. You will be able to spend as much time as you want on the game. If you're losing on time, like, it's such a pity if you have such a good game and then you just lose on the clock. Personally, I tend to hesitate a lot. So, like, I know how it's like to be low on the clock. Sometimes just follow your intuition. And you don't, like, it. You can keep calculating as much as you want, but you'll never be able to calculate everything. It's a matter of trying to practice as much as you can and try to build good habits like that. Maybe you should try that, like a 15 plus 10 or something. That's, I think, the common time control. Or 10 plus 5, but I don't think there's a lot of people playing that. But yeah, I think, indeed, with increment would help a lot. You know, like, a lot of things about the game. You know a lot of the rules, but they are just, like, the hanging pieces thing, I think, is an issue, and the time management. I think if you fix those two things, time management is a little bit more difficult to fix, but I think we can work on that. If you just work on those two things, you will get the 1,000 easily because you have really good, like, you have a lot of knowledge about the game. The way that you're thinking about the game, you know a lot of rules already. So that goes a long way. We just need to see it in the game happen.